Hi, I'm Dr. Brad Nelson. I'd like to introduce you to a friend of mine, Ian Foster. Say hello, Ian.
Hey, everybody. Hi, Brad.
Hi. Ian is an attorney, and not just any attorney. He's a very specialized attorney who works with healers. And we're very excited to have partnered with Ian to bring to you a course on how to protect yourself legally, how to do what you're doing in a legal way so you can sleep well at night and operate within the law and so on. And so even though, of course, we have practitioners all over the world, his course is really designed to fit wherever you are. And so we're really excited about that. We've been connected now for a while, and Ian is a great guy. He's got some great information. So I want to go ahead and turn the time over to you, Ian, and then if I have questions, I'll go ahead and interject. But this is a course that we're making available at a very low cost through Ian for you. So that's what this is all about.
Thanks, Brad, so much. It's great to be here, and I appreciate everybody taking some time to watch this. It's a pretty important subject matter. I love talking and teaching about the law, and I'm super grateful to Brad and all the staff at Discover Healing. One thing I appreciate about you guys is how much you take the law seriously in teaching people about healing modalities. I mean, the healing is important. The modalities are important. The doing the great work in the world is important. And also the law turns out to be pretty important. It can be a great tool for building your practice, for being more visible, for being confident, and for doing a lot of good in the world. And so a lot of other organizations and folks don't take it as seriously, which can have kind of sort of devastating results. But I love that you guys are giving your practitioners this opportunity and giving me a chance to reach a wider audience and help more people. So thank you for that. And so today we're going to talk about how we can kind of start to make the law simple, especially for energy healers. And we're talking about protecting yourself, protecting your clients, protecting your business, your family, but also a sense of confidence and visibility and getting out there in the world. I know sometimes as a healer, it can be a little tricky. Like if the law seems dangerous and mysterious, or if you're kind of maybe has some fear or anxiety about putting yourself out there and being visible, I get it. And this is a way to be more visible and to show yourself. I mean, you guys have these amazing gifts. You're learning these amazing modalities. Your clients need you. So let's help you do that, right? And let's keep our eye on the goal of all the great work we're going to do in the world. And so as I talk about the law, it's important to understand why we should learn it. And I've learned a number of important truths in my legal career. I've been doing this for over 20 years now. And some of those are things like ignoring the law only makes problems worse. And we all kind of get it when it comes to things like ignoring maintenance on our car, right? You know that if you don't keep up on the maintenance, it's going to break down. Or you know if you don't go to the dentist for a cleaning, it could end up bad. It's the same way with the law, right? And I've also found that being afraid of the law ironically tends to attract the very problems you fear. If we live in fear of the law, if we live in fear of the government, of getting sued, of our clients, that fear tends to be then what we attract. And it actually puts you at bigger risk of the bad things happening that you're afraid of. And so I try to help folks get past that fear to where you are more confident and empowered. I've also found that listening to non-attorneys, people who don't really practice in the law, or trying to do your own sort of internet investigations and sleuthing, using free templates, copying language, that stuff leads to a lot of avoidable heartache in the law. So the law is not something you want to trust to non-experts, just like you wouldn't trust your healing modalities to non-experts. You guys went to Dr. Brad and his staff to learn from the experts how to heal people. Well, go to the legal experts to learn how to deal with the law too. And on the other hand, I found that when you reach a state of empowered legal knowledge, you get safety, confidence, peace of mind, more visibility, practice building. It's sort of like the flip end of, instead of that being quiet, living in fear, huddling down, worrying. If you get this empowered legal knowledge, it's the opposite of that. You can be out there. You can feel great about what you do. You can help way more people and feel better about how you do it. And then not just the empowered knowledge, but finding good experts to work with, empowered cooperation with attorneys who are knowledgeable in the field. And there are a handful of us, unfortunately, too few attorneys like myself who are really specializing in this field. Hopefully there will be more. Maybe I can train some and get some more working on it, right? But work with a knowledgeable attorney who understands what they're doing so they can help you be more visible too. And like you, I and a handful of others are passionate about your mission to bring healing to this world. The world needs healing. You're on a mission to bring it. You have the gifts to bring it, and I'm super passionate about it. This is why I chose this legal specialty. I help the community of heart-centered, service-oriented folks, right? And this is, everybody uses a little bit different label. You might call yourself a healer, an energy healer, a transformational coach, a transformational leader, right? You can use whatever label works for you and your identity and helps you and your clients. But basically, if you're serving from the heart, if your clients are important to you, if they're people with, dreams and passions of their own who you can get behind, in other words, your clients are not just another credit card number to you, but they're real people who need you. You're in the heart-centered industry. And that's the legal specialty that I chose because I want to be a part of that. And so I do have my legal practice where I have one-on-one legal clients, but in order to reach a broader audience and help more people, realize this state of empowered legal knowledge and confidence, I've created cost-effective group programs. And so I try to, help you guys through these group programs, keep your costs low, get the knowledge level high, get you guys out there practicing and helping people. I also am lucky enough to be invited to speak at conferences, teach workshops and masterclasses and stuff like that. And I do, again, a lot of it because I'm passionate about helping you guys. I have plenty of heartbreaking examples, right? Sometimes people want to hear the gut punch story of what can go wrong. I have too many of those already. I don't need more gut punch stories of the things that can go wrong. We don't take the law seriously. I'm trying to create more stories of people who are empowered in the law and use it to be visible and help more people. So I would rather you guys be my next example on the list of legal empowerment and what you can accomplish with that. The law, I get it can seem a little bit scary, right? It doesn't have to be scary. And the reality is that if you want to spot the potential legal problems in your business, if you want to implement preemptive solutions so you can be confident, it just requires a few basic skills, little common sense, doing some basic research. And on that level, I will say, look, 20 plus years ago when I went to law school, law research meant going to a 10-story building and going through the little cards and going up and down stairs. Thankfully, now everything's on the internet. Makes it a little bit easier, right? Good observational abilities, being able to spot what's going on around you. Good communication skills, very important in this, and a detail-oriented outlook. And then most important to me is that positive can-do attitude. If you've got that positive can-do attitude, I don't care what the subject matter is, you can accomplish great things in it. Your mindset makes a big difference in all of that. And look, if you guys are running a healing practice, if you're building a practice, if you're helping real people, you already have these qualities, right? So you already have the foundation it takes to learn this stuff. I'm not worried about that. The rest is just details. It's just learning in the right situation from the right people and taking the action on it. So you don't have to be intimidated by the law, right? It doesn't hurt to have the legal training and experience like I do, but you get some expert guidance and you can do a lot of great things. And you already listen to experts in other areas of your practice, right? When it comes to setting up your technology, learning how to market to make yourself visible and get out there, your business planning and all the paperwork, that back-end business stuff. And of course, you guys have listened to the experts when it comes to learning the actual healing modalities. You've gone to Dr. Brad and gotten certified in the emotion code and the body code and these great ways to help people. So you already know how to listen to experts, right? It's no different in the law. Just find a good expert, listen to the right legal expert who's in alignment with you and your mission and values. Don't just pick an attorney out of the yellow pages, right? But find someone who knows your industry, who specializes in it, and who shares your values and your mission and passion for the world. And then keep your eye on the prize, right? And if you keep your eye on the prize, it can actually be fun and interesting to learn as you go on. And what do I mean by keeping your eye on the prize? The goal of helping people. That's why you want to do this, is because you care. You care about your clients. You're passionate about helping them. Keep your eye on that goal, and you're going to be fine through all this. So a little bit about who I am. Right. So again, hey, everybody, I'm Ian Foster. Right. I got my law degree from the University of California, Davis, over 20 years ago now. UC Davis was a great law school for me because it's what I think of as the heart-centered, service-oriented law school. It's where you go if you have a heart for service, if you want to make a difference in the world. It's where you go to cooperate together as a team. You guys may have seen in some of those old law school movies, like they sit you down on the first day of the law school, right? And they're like, hey, look to your right, look to your left. of the three of you, only one of you is going to graduate and you're each other's competition. Well, my first day at UC Davis, they sat us down and they literally did this. The moment we got to orientation, the first thing they said was, look to your right, look to your left. And we're all thinking, oh boy, here it comes, right? Because we'd seen the movies. And they surprised us. They said, we expect all three of you to graduate, and we expect you guys to help each other do it, because it's going to be a tough 3 years and you're going to need each other. Oh my goodness, was that a relief, right? I knew I was in the right place right there. I am still a licensed attorney in the state of California. I do have an active, thriving legal practice where I help people one-on-one with the full suite of business, tax, and other services in their coaching and healing practices. In my career, I spent about 18 years as a government attorney. Why does that matter? Well, government attorneys tend to bring a whole different perspective on this stuff. The government throws you in there deep. Despite what you may hear, you don't work for the government for the money. Any of us in the government could have left on day one and earned a lot more outside. We were there because we cared, because we had a heart for service, because we wanted to make a difference. And so you come up with a much deeper outlook on all this stuff, as well as a great overview of what's important to the government. And you see a wider range of situations than you would see on the outside. So that to me was important learning for me. My wife, Heather, and I, we founded our business, Personal Empowerment Services. I'm a licensed attorney. She's a licensed therapist. We both have experience in coaching, business coaching, and transformational coaching. And together we have more than 40 years experience in those fields. And again, we specialize in this heart-centered field. Coaches, healers, we even work with some licensed health practitioners like doctors and therapists. The point is, if you care about your clients, if you're serving from the heart, if you want to protect them and be more confident and visible, if you want to relax and do what you do best, we're here to help you with that. A little bit about my teaching style, which may be different from some other attorneys, right? So I really try to combine the left brain and the right brain, right? We all have our strengths and weaknesses. Some of us may be a little more dominant on one side or the other. I'm a big believer in getting those two sides of your brain to work together and cooperate. To me, that's where the real empowerment happens. So of course, we're talking about the law, right? So we're going to talk about the law. We do have to talk about facts and how they fit in the law. The law can be very logical. We're going to talk about the logic. So yes, we do go through the left brain stuff. Some of you are going to really get that and identify with it, and that's great. But we don't leave out the right brain stuff. To me, that's just as important. You got to come at this from the heart, and you got to recognize that people are coming at this from the heart, right? You have to look at our shared values, right? We all have these common values. We care about people. We care about people's well-being. We care about their health, their emotional, physical, mental health. We want people to lead better lives, right? If we start from that shared foundation of values, I don't care what else we might disagree on. We can accomplish anything together as far as I'm concerned. And compassion. And that involves me having compassion for my clients and the people I teach in my programs. It involves you having compassion for yourself, right? And saying, it's okay if this is hard. It's okay if I feel fear. That's all part of me, all working itself out, right? You having compassion for your clients, right? This compassion for each other, the shared values, the compassion, the heart. To me, that's necessary. Without that, I don't care how much law and facts and logic we talk about, we're not going to accomplish things. We have to share the heart, the values, and the compassion. That to me is how you reach a state of empowered cooperation, right? And so I mean empowered cooperation between the two sides of your brain, getting them work together. But I also mean empowered cooperation between you and your clients, and between you and attorneys like myself who are helping you, between you and organizations like Brad's, right, that are teaching you this great stuff. All of us we're all on the same team here, right? We're not in competition with each other. Even you and other healers, right, you're not in competition with them, because there's more than enough people who need healing out there and who need your help. We all should be cooperating together.
Boy, that's for sure. There's no shortage of people that need help.
Mm-hmm. So what can you expect from the presentation today? We will do a quick overview of legal issues for energy healers. And there are tons of legal issues to talk about, but I just want to talk about three that are pretty important and everybody should be aware of, and hopefully it can get something across. We're going to talk about professional licensing laws, kind of what they mean and how they may be more important than you think. We're going to talk a little bit about contracts and how contracts create a safe space for you and your clients to experience change together, and professional ethics. To me, professional ethics are the real foundation of any good healing practice. And then, of course, how you can learn more. As Dr. Brad said, we have a great opportunity for you. Discovery Healing and my company have been able to cooperate to bring you something that I think is really powerful and beneficial for everyone. So when it comes to licensing laws, anytime you're dealing with clients' physical and mental health, you have to be aware of professional licensing laws, right? So we're all aware of how medical doctors have to get a license and nurses have to get a license. Therapists, psychologists, counselors, social workers, those all require government licenses, right? And I want to correct 4 misconceptions when it comes to licensing laws. The first one, professional licensing laws only apply to people who hold the licenses. Huge misconception. In fact, professional licensing laws apply to everyone. And if you're not sure what I mean by that, let's do a quick thought experiment. You guys are healers. You're helping people with their physical and mental ailments. If a client comes into your office, are you allowed to pull out a scalpel and cut them open and perform surgery? No, of course not. Why are you not allowed to? Because the licensing laws apply to you too, to prevent you from doing that. So they apply to everyone in some sense or another. So there's something you have to be aware of. The next misconception is that alternative healing, including things like energy and spiritual healing work, is not a regulated profession. In fact, it has become regulated in more and more jurisdictions. There are things called safe harbor laws that regulate it that we learn a lot more about in the course, and I'll mention briefly today, as well as you have to be aware of how the licensing laws work and how there are boundaries that if you cross can be a little bit dangerous for you and your clients. Another big misconception is that the controlling law is where you live, right? Now, if you are working with clients in person in your practice and you all live in the same town, in the same state, province, country, whatever it might be, then it's simple. That's the controlling law is there. But more and more of us are working online, doing remote healing. And I know Brad has taught you guys various methodologies to heal people remotely through different methods, so you can have a broader reach and help more people. Well, it turns out the controlling law often is where your client resides. And so that can be a little tricky for folks sometimes, right? If you live in Alberta, Canada, and your client's in Florida in the US, then the controlling law is going to be Florida law where your client lives. And then another big misconception, often I hear them say, okay, that's all nice and great, but governments don't actually care about this, right? They don't actually go around investigating people. No, they absolutely do going around enforcing these laws. And there are different kinds of consequences, and I don't want to spell them all out here. They can be pretty tough to swallow, the consequences, if you're found to be in violation. And I don't say that to scare you or get your blood pressure up. I say that because I just want you to be aware that the government takes it seriously. You should take it seriously too. And there are ways to keep yourself safe. Right? So minimize your risk by learning to create a pattern of what I call good faith compliance. Now, what does that involve? Well, that involves a lot of things, and we get into that kind of detail in the course. But basically, these licensing laws can be a little bit tricky because they sometimes set up sort of vague rules, right? They're not like speed limits, unfortunately. A speed limit is great. It tells you what the speed limit is. You're either over it, you're under it, you know where you stand. Attorneys like me love laws like speed limits because they're so easy to read and interpret. Licensing laws don't draw a bright line. They set up sort of a vague gray area. And because of that, and because there are many of them, and because of the different jurisdictional issues, if you live in different countries, provinces, states, it can be difficult to try and get a complete 100% compliance going with the licensing laws, right? There's no such thing as zero risk. So we're just trying to minimize risk by showing the government that you're working in good faith to do your best. And for a lot of government investigators, that's all they want to see, is that you're trying in good faith. Look, it can be scary thinking about, oh my gosh, this scary person working for the government, he or she is going to come in and they're going to audit me and investigate me, and it's terrifying. Look, I was a government investigator for 18 years. I'm a fairly typical example of government investigators. Hopefully, I don't seem too scary to you guys, right? Most of them are just like me. They just want to do their job and do it right. They're there because they want to serve like you do. Their service is just expressed a little bit differently. Make sure you're giving your clients proper notice and get informed consent from them, right? This is a great way to keep your risk down. Make sure they understand, that you're using an alternative energy healing modality that is not licensed medical work. Make sure you have informed consent from your clients, that they understand the risks and benefits. You always want your clients to make their own decision, right? Just like I want you guys to be empowered and act under your own power on the legal side of business. You want your clients to feel their power. We're not here to take away our clients' power. We're here to empower them so they can make their own decisions in life. And as I said, we have something called safe harbor laws, which are starting to address alternative energy healing modalities in a lot of countries and a lot of states and provinces now. And these have rules regarding client care, regarding confidentiality, regarding notice. So make sure you're complying with these safe harbor laws. Governments are starting to recognize, and this is a good thing, they're starting to recognize that there aren't enough licensed psychologists, doctors, nurses out there, and that we can't get them fast enough, right? There are too many people who need healing for us to require everybody to go through all these licensing procedures to get as many doctors, nurses, and other healthcare workers as we need out there. They recognize that alternative healing is needed, that energy healing is needed, spiritual healing is needed in the world. And so governments are creating these safe harbor laws precisely for folks like you so that you have a safe space to operate in where you can help people legally. Right? So it's a good thing that governments are starting to recognize how much you guys are needed out there and provide a good, safe framework for you to do it. And then, of course, advise your clients to consult with licensed healthcare providers and refer them out if needed. There are things you can help them with. There are things that doctors can help them with. There's a place for you helping them. There's a place for doctors helping them as well. Make sure you're advising them to seek out their doctor when needed. These kind of things are going to minimize your risk. Now, again, I said minimize your risk. There is no zero risk thing in the world of serving people from the heart. Even for me as an attorney, there's no zero risk. This is why I have malpractice insurance. I want to serve you guys and do my best, but I'm a human being too. And everybody makes mistakes, and that's okay. So we're just going to minimize your risk. And then the other thing you want to keep in mind, if you do get investigated, because it does happen, is to cooperate fully in the investigation. I have seen too often when people do get investigated that they try to obstruct the investigation, they try to delay it, they try to avoid it, or they go into court making arguments like, hey, Mr. Government Man, you can't tell me what to do. That stuff does not go down very well. Every instance of that I've seen goes down very badly for the healer in question. Just cooperate, right? And because you have been complying in good faith, because you've been doing the right things, trust that you're going to be okay. So the second subject I wanted to talk about today is contracts. And I want to make the point that you always, in my opinion, should have a written contract of some type in place with your clients. And so let's correct 4 big misconceptions there also. So one big misconception is that free services, pro bono services, don't require a contract to be in place. In fact, you still need a good quality contract if you're helping people for free. You may not call it a contract. You may call it informed consent, waiver, disclosure. Those are all just different names for contract in the law. So don't get hung up on what it's called. But if you're helping people for free, which is a great thing to do for folks that need it, you still need some kind of paperwork in place. Next, folks tend to think, oh my gosh, I need a legal contract. Now it has to be written in some sort of super long, complicated, detailed, formal legalese, right? And I have to pay all this money to get this attorney to write it. No, not at all. In fact, your contract should be written in concise, plain language, plain words, everyday words that you use, everyday words your client's going to use, right? I want you to understand your contracts. I want your clients to understand your contracts. If nobody understands the words, it sort of defeats the whole point of it, right? And you want to have a meeting of the minds when it comes to a contract. You want to know that both sides came in understanding what it's all about, understanding their rights, their obligations, how they're going to work together, how they're not going to work together. So it should be written in as plain language as can be. Another big misconception, that there's only a binding contract if it's written down and signed by both people. Or I even hear sometimes if it's binding if it's notarized or witnessed or something like that. And so often I hear from folks, in fact, I spoke at a conference not that long ago for coaches and healers. And I said, everybody raise your hand if you have a contract in place with your clients and with your paying clients. Only about half the people raised their hand. And so I asked the other half of the people, so you don't have a contract in place? And they're like, yeah, I have no contract in place. Well, did you agree to provide services and your client agreed to pay for it? Yes, they did. well, then in fact, you do have a contract in place. It's just not written down. It turns out that you can have a binding legal contract if you satisfy some extremely minimal low bars, and that verbal requirements, verbal commitments are just as legally binding. So if you have paying clients you're helping, you have a contract with them, whether you know it or not. It may just be a very simple verbal contract that turns out to be very dangerous for both you and your client. So we might as well get something written down that creates a much safer space. And I get that some folks, you have a little bit of fear of contracts, or maybe there's an emotional charge around it or a negative perception. I understand it. I get it. And so there's this notion out there that contracts create distrust, or that they ruin good relationships between people. And so that is why often folks are reluctant, especially in this very heart-centered, service-oriented kind of field, where you don't want to put some written contract in place. Man, we just want to trust each other. We want to work together. So we're not going to put something in place to ruin that. In fact, contracts promote an atmosphere of trust. They allow you to have an intimate, trusting, close relationship with your clients. They allow you to cooperate together. They create a much safer space to everyone to operate in. And indeed, the closer relationship you have with the client, the more critical it is to have a contract that protects that relationship. Every business relationship I have is not, I wouldn't say governed by a contract. I would say it's protected by a contract, because I value all the relationships in my business with my clients, my business partners, my vendors, the people I work with, like Brad and his organization. I value these relationships. I want to protect these relationships so that we can all keep working together in empowered cooperation for the long term. Contracts let you do that. They don't get in the way of it. They allow that to happen. And so to protect yourself and your clients, start looking at contracts in more of a positive light, right? Start working on any anxiety that might be around it. Start looking at the emotional charge that might be around it. Look, you guys are healers. You're in touch with your energy and your source, right? You have ways to ground. Get in touch within yourself and think, okay, I have this negative emotional charge around contracts. Why is that? Start looking into yourself and figuring out why it is so that you can heal that in yourself. There's some sort of trauma in there that's causing that negative emotional charge. You guys are healers. You know this, right? So let's figure out what it is. And instead, let's place a positive light, a positive emotional charge around contracts. They promote trust. They allow you and your clients to experience transformation together. They don't get in the way of that. Contracts are what allows that to happen. Then learn what to put in your contract, right? Okay, all right, Ian, I'm convinced. I get it. Fine, I'm going to have a contract. Now what do I put in it? Well, this is what we talk about, right? You need to learn what goes in it. How do you protect yourself? How do you protect your clients? How do you protect the industry as a whole? How do you create that safe, empowered space for everyone? And then how do you write it in ordinary language? One of the things I teach my folks to do in my programs is not just what goes in the contract, but how to write it. You know, we actually sit down and practice it. We role play. What do you put in there and how do you write it in your own words? Because if you understand it and your client understand it, you're good to go. That's way better than some sort of complicated legalese that nobody understands. There is a time and place for complicated legalese, right? I have written contracts, 60, 70-page contracts for multi-million-dollar business acquisitions. Okay, those are going to be complicated legalese because we require a certain level of detail and precision and clarity that can only be accomplished in legalese. And both sides are represented by a team of attorneys who can interpret it for them. But when it comes to you and your client, that's no good. Keep it short, keep it simple, keep it plain, keep it understandable. And make sure to protect your client's confidentiality. This is an ethical issue. It's also a contractual issue, right? You want to make promises where you can, but you have to include appropriate exceptions. Client confidentiality, at first glance, seems like a simple subject. It turns out to be a little bit more complicated. There are times when you can promise confidentiality, when you cannot. There are times when you can promise it for a while, and then unfortunately you have to violate it. And you have to understand how all that fits in your contract so that, again, your client is informed up front. You want your client to know what they're getting into. You need to know what you're getting into so that everybody has that meeting of the minds and can work together. And keep a record of your clients having agreed to the contract, right? Don't get them to sign it and throw it away. Print it out and just keep a file full of that stuff. Or if you have a file for each client where you take notes or whatever it might be, make sure you keep a record of this stuff. And then the third subject I just wanted to touch on quickly today was this notion of professional ethics. What we have here is it's the foundation for a growing and vibrant healing practice. And so I'll correct 4 quick misconceptions when it comes to ethics. And these misconceptions, again, all these misconceptions I've been listing, I list them because these are things I hear in real life all the time, right? So that's where I come up with these. The first one, I'm a good person, so I don't need to worry about ethics. I'm sure you are a good person. I don't doubt that at all, right? But really, I'm an imperfect human who makes mistakes even when I have the best of intentions. We all make mistakes, no matter what great intentions we might have. Another misconception, well, my own sense of morality is going to guide my professional ethics. I don't have to study professional ethics because I have my own sense of morality. In fact, your own sense of morality is only going to go so far, right? For one thing, we all come with slightly different moral views based on our values, our histories, our upbringings, the things we believe, the communities we're in. There's going to be slight differences. And the other thing is that professional ethics are not always as intuitive as you might think they are. How about this? Ethics are just a list of rules. I hear this all the time. Just give me the checklist. Just give me the ethical checklist so I can go through it. It's not that simple. Ethics turn out to be kind of subtle and fact specific. This is why you have to learn how and why the ethical rules are what they are, because you're going to need to exercise your own independent judgment. You'll have a general rule under professional ethics that will work great for 90% of your clients, but you have to be able to spot that 10% where it doesn't work and recognize the exceptions to it. You have to exercise your own independent judgment. And then another one, often people conflate professional ethics with client privacy as though it's the same thing. And so I hear, well, I'm keeping my client information private. That's it, right? That should be enough. In fact, keeping your client information private is just the beginning, and it's not that simple. And you need to understand the different confidentiality and privacy rules that go into a strong sense of professional ethics. So discover what it means to have this strong sense of professional ethics. And while you're discovering it, be open-minded about what you're going to learn. It's okay if some of it surprises you and it isn't what you think it is. Try to be a little bit open-minded. Keep your client's best interest in mind, always, right? It's about your clients. Like I said, it's keeping your eye on the prize. These are real people who need healing in the world. Keep your eye on that. Keep their best interest in mind. And part of that means giving them all the information they need to make their own informed decision. We're not trying to take away people's power. We're trying to help them get their power back, right? We're trying to release them from the stranglehold of the traumas and emotional burdens, right? We want to empower our clients. Understand these subtle and complicated rules when it comes to privacy and confidentiality. It is not a simple thing. And so, in fact, in my course, we talk several points about privacy and confidentiality. It's one of the single most important legal and ethical things that you have to be concerned with. And it's a more complicated subject than you might think. And part of professional ethics is representing the entire energy healing community in a good light, right? It may not feel fair, and that's okay if it doesn't feel fair. But the fact is, the experience people have with you as a healer is going to reflect upon the entire healing community. If people have a very bad experience with you because you didn't respect their rights and privacy and other things, they're going to go out saying, oh man, don't trust these energy healers. That's no good, right? We don't want that. We want them to have a great experience. We want them to come away feeling better about themselves, feeling more empowered, feeling healed, so that they have a good experience. And then they can go out there to their friends and their family and say, oh my gosh, this is the most amazing thing. You guys need this. So represent the whole community in a good light. So what have we talked about? Just to recap quick, how licensing laws are critical. They don't have to be scary. You don't have to be afraid of them. Just be aware of them and comply in good faith. Do your best. How contracts are essential and how we can start looking at them in a positive light. Put that positive spin on contracts because they create the safe and trusting relationship that you want. And how professional ethics are going to be the grounding for your visible and successful practice as a healer. And so what do you do with it? Well, it's one thing to spot these issues and realize how important they are, but without empowered knowledge and guidance from experts, it's a little bit harder to gain that confidence. Again, this is not the sort of subject you want to trust to non-experts, to the post you saw in some Facebook group, to some headline you saw in the newspaper. It's a complicated subject. So we'll talk about how you can dig deeper in a way that brings that safety, that confidence, that peace of mind, that greater visibility that you guys crave in your practices. So we've created this basic legal course for energy healers. And just think about, again, I'm always trying to keep the eye on the prize. Keep that goal in mind. That helps with a lot of the anxiety here. So wouldn't it be nice to remove the mystery and the anxiety from the law? One thing that's great about my 18 years of government service is it lets me kind of pull back the curtain. And it's a little bit like the Wizard of Oz, right? And you get to the end and there's the big scary wizard. It turns out when you pull back the curtain, it's this kindly old dude who just wants to help. It can be like that with the law. We're going to pull back the curtain. It doesn't have to be that scary. Think about what it's going to be like when you feel empowered and confident. When you hear the law, and instead of thinking, oh boy, that again, you think, that's cool. I get it. I understand it. I know what to do. I feel great about it. Wouldn't it be nice to use the law as a tool for building your practice, for deepening those client relationships, for making your gifts more visible in the world? The law, if ignored, if not understood properly, it can and will be a brick wall that you will crash into. On the other hand, if you have empowered knowledge, if you're in a state of empowered cooperation, if you're taking action, if you have a positive spin on the law, it's now the wind in your sails. It's driving your practice forward. It's making you more visible. It's making your practice more vibrant. It's enabling much deeper relationships with your client than you could have had without it. So that's how I want you to see the law. And envision a future where you're just not worried about it, right? Where you don't stay awake at night. You don't wake up thinking, oh, geez, that thing. You don't hear the law and it doesn't trigger this negative stuff. You're just not worried about it. Instead, you're focused on your goal, bringing healing to a world that needs it. So this one-of-a-kind course, and honestly, this is the only course I'm aware of out there that is specifically tailored to energy healers and to practitioners of the Discovery Healings methods in particular. You're going to discover your own unique power in the law, because the law is going to apply differently to every one of you, right? The law, just like healing, applies differently to every client you come in. You're not going to use exactly the same words and everything with everybody. You have to figure out what they need. Well, the law can apply a little bit differently to each of you. Discover your own unique power. Learn how to comply with the laws safely and confidently. Again, using the law as the wind in your sails, right? This is about building your practice, helping more people, going out there and showing off your gifts. God, I am in awe. Let me pause for a second. This is a little bit off topic. I am in awe of the gifts you people have. You healers out there who are doing this work, I don't know how you do it. That's not my gift maybe, and that's okay. It's your gift, and the world needs it, and your clients need it. So let me use my gifts to help you use your gift in a way that makes a much bigger difference in the world, because I love the good work that you're doing. I want to be part of it too. I love seeing this, right? And so I get to see you guys make a difference in your clients' lives. And then your clients go out and they have a positive impact. I get chills just thinking about the ripple effect of good work that we get to do in the world together. So I love it. And being part of this course, being joining a community, you're not going to be the only person in there, right? I teach this stuff together in a group. They're like-minded healers, like-minded practitioners who share your mission, and being part of that community is very powerful. To me, learning in community is a big part of that heart, that values, that compassion, right? I could throw all the law and logic at you in pre-recorded stuff, and you're only going to absorb so much of it. Getting together in community and working through problems together is how we really learn this stuff and get empowered. So we're going to gain empowered knowledge on professional licensing laws, right? So we touched a little bit on that today. We're going to talk about what they are, how they work, and how do you actually go about complying in good faith? What are the steps you need to take to do that? We go deep into these safe harbor laws and how they are made to benefit healers exactly like you, how governments are enacting these laws because they know that the world needs alternative and energy healing. And so they're creating a legal framework that lets you do it safely. Let's take advantage of that. I think it's a great opportunity. We'll dig into contracts. What are contracts? What makes them legally binding? How do they work? What can contracts do? What can you not do? And then how do you start to create customized contracts that work for your practice specifically? And again, this strong sense of professional ethics, grounding in professional ethics. How do you protect your clients' rights, and how do you treat them with dignity and respect and make sure that you are empowering them? How do we get you there? Well, there are 6 pre-recorded instructional modules. And they go into detail on this stuff. And I have a lot of experience. I've been teaching the law for a long time and breaking things down in bite-sized chunks. And whether you're a novice learning the law for the first time, or whether you've already started to look into this and you have some knowledge, you're going to find something in there for you. I try to make it very accessible no matter what your level of knowledge you have. And it goes through things in bite-sized chunks, nice and in a logical format in a way that makes sense for everybody. It comes with worksheets and checklists, right? Because I don't want you just staring at a video. I can get staring at a video sometimes. I've been through courses myself. You zone out. I get it, right? You have lots of things going on in your life other than this. I'm okay with that. So the worksheets and the checklists are going to help you absorb and implement the information. And then to me, I talk about the importance of community. So we do live Q&A calls where you get to join this community. You get to meet the other folks who are just like you, doing the same mission in the world, and we're going to work through your questions and issues together. And I come at the community, the Q&A calls from a place of compassion. I try hard to come at it from a place of humility, where, look, I don't claim to have all the answers in the world, but I know how we can work through the answers. Right. And it's, in fact, when folks ask me how to find a good attorney, the first red flag I tell them is, if you find an attorney who says they know everything and everything's absolutes and bright lines and promises, it's a bit of a red flag. You want an attorney who's humble, who knows their limits, who knows that they don't know everything, but they know how to find the answers and work through it, and who's willing to say, let's figure this out together. So as Brad mentioned up front, we were able to work out a special deal for you guys, because I'm really passionate about helping as many as you as we can. I know Brad's passionate about it, and so we're trying to make it as accessible as we can for everybody. I have been practicing the law for over 20 years. I've been teaching the law for over 10. I've taught it to tons of heart-centered coaches and healers like yourself. I've even traveled the country teaching the law to other auditors and attorneys. So I've been able to break this down for people of a lot of different knowledge levels. And I frequently now teach courses on the law, on taxes, and on critical thinking, tailored to folks like yourself. The investment for my courses ranges from $9.97 to $29.97. My cheapest courses now are $9.97. I shouldn't say cheap, wrong word, lowest priced courses, as I try to watch my language and meaning of words as well, right? And my next launch is going to be for a course for $29.97. So that's the range. Those are the everyday prices that people pay to invest in my courses. But Discover Healing and Brad and his folks and I have been working out for you. You can join this course for one payment of $197. This is by far the lowest cost offering I have. I'm doing this because I'm able to work with Brad and his people, because he's given me the opportunity to reach so many of you, which for me I'm jazzed. I get excited about this, and you're going to see that in the course and on the Q&A calls. This is my jam. This is what I do, is helping folks like you find your power in the law. And so the chance for me to reach out to you guys and to do it in a really cost-effective way so that I can help you guys, to me, that's an exciting opportunity. And I can't wait to teach it.
Well, let me just say how excited I am, all of us really at Discover Healing, because this is something that we've been looking for. It's been a kind of a missing piece of the puzzle in our educational system. And so we're really thrilled to have found Ian. We're grateful that we're able to work out this amazing deal for all of you practitioners, so that this can fill in that knowledge base of yours, so that you can just be really comfortable and operate within the law and know what the boundaries are and so on. So we're super excited about this. So thank you, Ian, for that presentation. I appreciate it. And I want to thank the rest of you for listening in, and I hope you can see how valuable this really can be for you. So thank you
Absolutely.
For listening.
So there'll be a link, I'm sure, dropped below the video for everyone that wants to check it out.
All right. Well, we'll talk next time. Thanks again. And thank you, Ian, for your time.
Bye, everyone.